Hi, my name is Karen Lovely, and I created this podcast to help empower you through myself and all of my guests that I will have on this podcast. I do believe it's all about being empowered from within first and foremost, and then this gives me the ability to empower others through my experiences, my tragedies, my trials and tribulations, and through other human beings so that you feel empowered within yourself. And the more our cup is full and running overeth, the more effortless it is to want to help the next human being, and so on and so on and so on through the ripple effect. So what I was able to do for myself is what I teach, preach, and practice, and it was all based on my experiences of empowering myself from lifelong chronic depression and suicidal tendencies. So if you just saw me and meet me, you would never know all the tragedy that I've been through in my life or experienced and suffered with from within, which all of that led up to my own suicide attempt in 2008. But the final nail in my coffin was when my sister finally died, took her last breath. And yet I had known she was dying for years, and there was nothing I could do. And I tried with only the few resources that I had, because I didn't have any of this background. I tried desperately to help her and save her life. And so the tragedy was beyond belief. The grief, the sorrow, the anguish was the very thing that drove me to my own suicide attempt. That suicide card was always in my back pocket. And this was because at a very early age, around 8 or 9 years old, I thought life was very meaningless and futile. Now, I didn't use the word futile at 8 or 9, but I clearly remember, like it was yesterday, standing in my family's living room, and I said to myself, I don't get it. Life doesn't make sense because, and I quote, if we are unhappy, then we work, and then we die, then there's no point. And then that became almost like this weird mantra of mine. It wasn't quite a mantra, but it remained in my unconscious mind, or it was unconscious to me from that point forward, but there was always this big question mark in my head. I don't get the meaning of life. Why am I here? It makes no sense to me. And I don't see any point to it, especially when I can't even get in touch with any hope or the least bit of happiness. And so there it was, where I just thought, okay, this is really stupid. As a matter of fact, oh my gosh, another thing I said to myself around the same time was, all people are stupid. They're so dumb. The world is so dumb. Like, I just don't like anyone, and I don't like my life. And underneath all of that, I was really saying, I don't like myself, but I don't even know who I am. And I had no sense of myself. I was just an empty shell, trying to fill the void through perfectionism and overachievement. That was an empty vortex going nowhere until I learned all this information that I teach, preach, and practice now, all based on my own personal experiences. I have a very keen intuition, a sixth sense, if you will. And I have used this to be able to understand myself so that I could make sense of my own life and the world, to where it eventually had me want to choose to stick around. I was chronically depressed my entire life. I had suicidal tendencies, and I carried that little death card in my back pocket all along the way. Because if we're going to die anyway, and it seems so bleak and depressing and empty and lonely, then why stick around? That was the whole theme of my life. So this is all about empowering you through me, through my clients, and through all the amazing guests that I will have on this podcast. The power of self-evolution saved my life, healed me from so much pain and anguish and grief and hopelessness. And I just want to share it with all of you. And I will be actually interviewing people, having guests, but I will be primarily coaching real life people with real issues that you will be able to listen to and download in my download store. You can go to my download store and purchase all of the real, raw, relatable stuff for a fraction of what it would cost you to have personal coaching, private coaching with me. And you will be able to empower yourself through these people, through these human beings. And why is that? Because as human beings, when I learned we are all fundamentally the same, neurologically, emotionally, we all tick the same way as if we were machines. Okay, that sounds kind of weird, but if we all have a human brain, then we all have the same abilities to certain degrees to compute information, to perceive our world, to interpret, and to assume and create our own opinions. And from there, to understand how the brain takes all of that and confuses it with objective reality, then whatever we're perceiving then creates our emotions, and then those emotions will dictate our actions or the lack thereof. So this is what did it for me. Understanding myself as being human and how I tick, why I think the things that I think, do the things that I do, don't think the things that I want to think, don't think the things that I don't think, and why I do the things that I don't want to do, and I do the things that I do want to do, and I don't want to do the things I do, and so on. You get it. And by understanding all of that, I was able to transform myself, my life, and my world so that I can perceive it as beautiful, as worth it, as rewarding, as fulfilling, as peaceful. And that eventually led to my purpose, my divine calling, which is empowering other human beings. So there it is, empowering you through us. This is all about you feeling connected to yourself first and foremost, and then you being the source of creating, inventing, designing your life on your terms. And if you're able to really love yourself unconditionally and own your self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-respect, then in turn you will be able to source, based on the law of attraction, everything and everyone you want, that you desire. You're able to create a life of passion and happiness and dreams come true. And I want that for every single human being on the planet, only because if every single human being on the planet is happy from within themselves, then chances are they wouldn't want to hurt anyone or anything else, and that they would want to help the next person, and so on and so on and so on. And so by the ripple effect, we have a beautiful, beautiful, loving, profoundly fulfilling life with all other loving human beings, this time around on the little blue-green marble. And then we're actually living as if this were heaven on earth. And that's what this is about, is empowering you through us and the power of self-evolution so that you're able to create your magnificent, profoundly fulfilling, radically exhilarating, and invigorating life until the end. And who wouldn't want that? Logically, if you think about that, who wouldn't want that? So here we are, empowering you through us. And please share this with whomever you feel or think would appreciate it. And share all the goodness and empowerment. And I would love to hear from you. So feel free to email me at karenlovely@gmail.com. KarenLovelle @gmail.com. And if there's anything you'd like for me to address, if there's anything, any comments, any feedback, I would love to hear from you. Now, this is all about positivity, optimism, empowerment, and we will be dealing with it all. My hashtag is real, raw, relatable. So we're going to be dealing with suicide, addiction, sexual abuse, incest, you name it. I will be dealing with it at some point or another so that we can gain greater wisdom, insights, enlightenment, and use that for good and not evil so that we are able to be the best that we can be within ourselves. And then doing and having and doing becomes easy and effortless, because then we're able to source it and live a life that is beyond magnificently extraordinary, but at the very least happy, healthy, and fun. A life of play and freedom, adventure, love, romance, you name it. If you can imagine it and perceive it, if you can conceive it, if you can envision it, it can be yours. So here's to empowering all of you through me, through other human beings, and I wish you only the very best. And here's to you living like this is your heaven on earth.